Hey everybody, in today's video I wanted to take you through how we handled writing for my fourth grader this year, kind of where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going, review a few things that we've used, and just in general kind of sum up our fourth grade year in writing. I mean, we're not done yet, but I've had a lot of questions lately about writing resources and curriculum, and so I thought I would just kind of combine it all into one. So where we started the year, I believe, it feels like it was so long ago, but was with the writing revolution, and then also, I don't have here to show you, we had Lithouse Learning, which uses the writing revolution. So we had gotten the Lithouse Learning ancient history unit, pack, level, whatever, level 2, I believe, of it, for my son because he was also doing Curiosity Chronicles, snapshots of ancient history. And so between those two things and then other just kind of writing assignments that I did with him, that's kind of how we started. I really like the writing revolution method, and we still use things from here on a daily basis as far as sentence construction and things like that. Where this gets difficult for me is that it's not a clear path. It's not a start here, stop here, end here. And that gets a little overwhelming for me. And so I always just kind of got stuck at like the, I don't know that we ever really made it past like a outlining. And even that, I'm not sure I did really well with this method. The bulk of what we used from the writing revolution was different types of sentences, sentence combining, that kind of thing. And I liked Lithouse Learning for practice in that as well, for kind of subject level practice, like integrating it into across the curriculum, I guess is why I like that. And I felt like it helped the understanding and retention of the subject level information that we were working with, the content of history, for example. So I really like kind of this method, but it was just hard for me to implement, and still is. I still just pull pieces and parts from this, but it wasn't enough the way I was doing it for this to be our entire writing. And same with the Lithouse Learning. I felt like there wasn't enough support for me as the teacher in it. So really for us, we were just using it as ways to practice, to continue to practice the skills that we had taught from here. So that's kind of where we started. And I did a lot of, I'm not going to talk really about creative writing. This is more for me about more formal writing. We did do a lot of other things for creative writing. Now, in the past, things that we have used for both of my kids, or maybe more for my daughter, we've done Write Shop, which was really fun, but it was there's a lot of teacher prep that goes into it, and it was fine. But it wasn't, I don't know, it felt as much work as I had to put into it. I felt like it was a much lighter, relaxed program. Like, I don't know, I didn't feel like it. Let's just say on a spectrum, if you have IEW structure and style at one end, I feel like Write Shop would be way at the other end. And so that I had done for my daughter, who's now in 7th grade. I don't think we ever used Write Shop for my 4th grader. We have done Essentials in Writing, EIW, for my daughter. And again, that one was not a great fit for us. The way that program is split up, you kind of are working on grammar in the first half and then writing in the second half, and there just wasn't enough kind of repetition and things like that for her. So I never even tried that one for my son. I'm trying to think what else we have tried. That may be about it. We've done some like one-off little workbooks, like I think we've done Building Writers from Learning Without Tears, and I think like a Flash Kids one or something. Anyway, that's kind of in general where we've been. My 7th grader this year, we started doing IEW structure and style for her, and that's been working really well. And so at some point in the year, I came across People and Places in Our Community, which is an IEW writing program for 1st and 2nd grade. It is in the structure and style kind of method, but they don't actually, oh yeah, the structure and style method. I did a whole video kind of flip through on this, so I will link that. I kind of go through and show you how it's laid out and everything. So even though my son's in 4th grade, I thought that this would give him a really good foundation, and so I decided to try it with him. And we have finished it, and I really liked it for him. So here's the thing about IEW, in my opinion, is it gets very repetitive. And so for him, doing this, which was intended for grades 1 to 2, it got a little stale. After a while, a little repetitive. And one thing I will say, though, is I feel like when you can combine your grammar instruction, grammar practice, and your writing, it clicks that much more, I think, and each one strengthens the other. So for him, he's also doing Fix-It Grammar Level 1. And so a lot of this came very quickly for him because he was already familiar with the terms. He understood so much of it. So I feel like that made this click a lot quicker, potentially. So the thing is, though, is we skipped parts of this. So it'll probably be easier to show in this one, in his student book. So you can kind of see here how it's broken down. We have making outlines, writing from notes, note making and outlines, writing from notes, retelling narrative stories, summarizing a reference, writing from pictures, and then inventive writing. And so in the beginning, let's see here. Where are we? We're in part 2. So like in unit 1, I think we probably did every single lesson. Yeah, we did. So unit 1, we did every single lesson. That was note making and outlines. Unit 2, I don't think we did every lesson. So unit 2 was writing from notes. So again, it got very repetitive, and once I felt like he had it, it seemed kind of pointless to continue on. I should also say this is all about community helpers. So again, a topic, he's already been there, done that. So it wasn't necessary for us to like build our little scrapbook of community helpers, and the vocabulary that's included in here mostly are all words he already knew. There were a few that were words that maybe he didn't know, and then there were a few that he knew but didn't really use regularly in his writing, and so we did bring those in when it was necessary. There's also a lot of extras in here, so let me get to an example. There's always like a little bonus, like activity. We never did those. And let's see. Yeah, like we didn't make the little toolbox. Somewhere you're supposed to make like a notebook where you put all your information about your community helpers in as you write them. We didn't really do that either. Yeah, we didn't make a book cover. That, for the age he was while we were doing this, that just wasn't necessary for us. So anyway, unit 2, let's see what we did in unit 2 so that you can get an idea. I'm not a fan of just randomly deciding not to finish curriculum or leaving chunks out. Actually, we did all of unit 2, it looks like. Okay. So Unit 3, what was Unit 3? I already forgot. Oh, retelling narrative stories. I don't think we did all of these. We did, so each kind of theme went over 2 lessons. So there would be a part 1 and a part 2. So we did the emergency room. And then, so there's not just the writing, there's also, let me show you in this one so I'm not showing his work. Let's see. Okay, so there's not just the writing where you're reading a source text. There's also activities that you're doing, working on the different like dress ups that they're teaching you, who, which clause, or ly adverb, things like that. There's 2 pages of that in each lesson also. Okay, so in Unit 3, I know we did the emergency room. I know we did the fire department, so that was 2 for the emergency room, 2 for the fire department. I don't think we did the plumber. No, we did not do the plumber. So it looks like we did, we didn't do the plumber, we didn't do the police officer. I think after we did the first 4 lessons, which were covered 2 topics, I let him pick from the last 3, because I think there were 5, which one he wanted to do. And he picked the vet, right? Am I right? Yeah. So we did the vet, and that was the last one. So we did 6 lessons, which covered 3 topics in Unit 4. All right, so then when we got to Unit 5, I think there were 3 topics he didn't want to do. Again, I let him pick. So we didn't do the hairdresser, we didn't do the tow truck. We did the grocery store, and I think there was one other one in there that we did. That would each topic was covered 2 lessons. So then we get to the very end, the final unit, and there's 2 writing assignments in here. One is to pick a job, and then one is to pick a volunteer type area that interests them. We did the career one, we didn't do the volunteer one. So, but here's what I'll tell you. This worked really well for him. It was repetitive, but by kind of just pulling out some of them, because he was doing great with it, it made it doable. His the keyword lining that they taught was really, really helpful. And I will say the repetitiveness of it, even though to me it got very repetitive, is probably what helped cement most of it for him. That combined with the fact that he already does fix-it grammar. And so a lot of this was just seamless because of that. But I feel like this was kind of like a real quick way to get his writing up to speed. And I absolutely would recommend this. But like I said, would I do it with a first grader? I don't know. 2nd, 3rd grade, I feel like, and even 4th grade, like I said, but we had to cut stuff out because he was a bit old for it. So, but I do feel like I saw the greatest amount of improvement in his writing after we did this. In fact, I will put in a screenshot of a sample of his writing from like the first couple weeks of school. And then I will put in a sample of his writing, not from this, but from a writing assignment that he had to do in his literature that he completed after we did completed this. So you can see the growth that he had in his writing, and I do owe a lot of it to this. But again, we are constantly implementing things from here as well. So it's probably a little bit of both, but I saw the greatest and quickest amount of growth after we completed this. So like I said, I recommend it. So the question is, where do we go from there? So when I made the video sharing about this curriculum, I had outlined, I was really worried that like, this wasn't going to be enough, you know, for 4th grade, and how was I going to beef it up a little bit. And so I shared a lot in that video about things that I was going to add in. I had a bunch of different things from Teachers Pay Teachers that I thought I could add in to kind of bulk it up a little bit. And I am still going to use some of these, but let me show you kind of where we've gone or where we're going. So I had picked this up. I shared this in a video. I found it at a thrift store for 75 cents. And this is the 4th grade. It's called Write Source, a book for writing, thinking, and learning. And I flipped through it at the thrift store and I was like, ooh, I really like the look of this. For 75 cents, I'm going to buy it and take it home and see if it's something that I can use. There's a lot in here. And someone asked me recently, is this just like a reference book? And this is like the student text. They also make a teacher's manual. This one happens to be for 5th grade, for the 5th grade one. I just got this off eBay. And for how we're going to use it, I don't need the teacher's manual, I don't think. But this does kind of give you a good idea of everything that's covered in here, kind of the scope and sequence. They give you, you know, how it meets the Common Core standards. There's a lot of different, let's see, they have like a, what do you call it? A suggested schedule for how to implement all of this in the classroom. I can't find it right now. So there are a million pages in here. Oh, here we go. So like here's suggested persuasive writing unit, 4 weeks. It goes through like how many days you would spend on each thing. Now there are other components to this program. There's a student book, there's a teacher manual, there's like a skills book that I think works more on like the grammar portion of it. Or maybe, yeah, I think that's what that one, there's this daily language workout, and then there's an online component. So I don't have any of those. I looked through the skills book a little bit. I found someone who had one on eBay that showed a few pages of it. And I kind of determined we didn't really need that. But so how we're using this right now and how I see us using it in the future is we're going to use this to support the other writing that we're going to do, which I'll show you in a minute. But I also use this, let me see if I can find it here. There you go. So before I committed to what else we were going to do for writing this year, I thought, let's go through and find some areas that we can work on in here. And so there was one section in here about summarizing a nonfiction reading selection or article. And let me find it so that I can show you exactly what we did. Because I think you could certainly use the book this way as well, with or without the teacher's manual probably. Oh yeah, response to a nonfiction article, 286. So we did this little section here. We went through, we read all of this, and then I had him go through, we get the Week Junior magazine, and so I had him go through and find an article that he wanted to use. He picked this one about red dye. And then we used it to apply what we learned in here, all the way through the revising and editing. So that was really good. And I think my original plan was we'll just go through and do different sections like that. So that worked really well. But, the other thing that I like about this book is just the different topics that it covers. Like, I love that it covers how to respond to reading. So how to respond to a novel, you know, how to write a book review. It goes, or how to respond to a biography. It goes into how to write, respond to like a question on a test, like an essay type question. How to respond to a tall tale, using reference materials, writing a summary paragraph, using a thesaurus, writing a research report, multimedia presentations, taking notes. Like, I think all of this is really good, and they're all things that for me, I struggle with. How do I teach that? Like, I know how to do it, but how do I teach it? So I think there's a lot of really good information in this book, and then, but some of this would probably be more reference-ish. I mean, I guess you could use it for grammar, like they have all of that back here, but that's not really how we're going to use it. But I think there's more in here than you need, probably, but I think it's a really good, solid resource. And you could use this as your writing curriculum, in my opinion. We are not going to use this as our main writing curriculum. So here's how we're going to finish out this year. As I was looking forward towards next year, I was looking at Hearth and Story. So as I'm looking towards next year, we are looking at Hearth and Story. So we used Hearth and Story literature, the whole literature package this year for him. He's in 4th grade, but we did the 5th grade one because that was the only one that was fully available at that time, or that was the closest to his grade level that was fully available. And he tends to be a strong reader. So we did 5th grade, and it worked fine. And I had bought the whole package. Now, we did not use the writing portion, but we had it. And so as I'm looking towards next year and potentially using the writing, I thought, you know what? I better use a little bit of 5th grade, or at least kind of go through 5th grade and see, to make sure he's not going to be missing anything if he uses 6th grade next year, if that makes sense. So how we have planned out the rest of this year is using this Hearth and Story kind of as our main piece of curriculum, and then I will support, if needed, I will add support from WriteSource. So if I feel like this does not lay out the steps enough for him, or he needs some more practice in the steps, I will pull in some of the lessons from here. So for example, when he gets to a research report, I think this one has research now, I can't remember. I marked all of this out, but let's see. Yeah, it does. So when we get into the research report portion of this, if I feel like he needs more instruction, or I just want to give him more, we can go to this section in WriteSource, and I can pull some lessons out of here as well. So that's really how I'm looking at using this year and next year. When we progress to the 6th grade Hearth and Story writing, I will get the WriteSource. So right now I have 4th grade, because this is what I found at the thrift store. But I will likely have these for all the grades because I like them. I think they're well done. And I think they're approachable, and I think they're easy to implement, and I just think they have good information in them. So having said that, I don't think you necessarily need that to do the Hearth and Story writing. But because this is 5th grade and he's in 4th grade, I felt like I might need to supplement some things. So I like having that on hand. So as we finish the 4th grade school year, this is what we're going to be using for writing. And some of these. So like for this one, I wrote in that we're going to do a book review on one of the books that he read this year. That's going to be one of the essays he does. So this I will combine with Right Source. So as an example, when we get to here, the persuasive essay in Hearth and Story, I have a couple of the writing packs that I have from Teachers That Pay Teachers that I think would work really well with this writing battles, and I have this opinion writing piece here that I think would go really well with that. I have a book from the library that we can use to write kind of a persuasive piece. And then I can use the section in here on persuasive writing as well to kind of support that, so we can write an opinion piece on which one of these we think is better, and how to, we can persuade you that the one we think is better is better. I thought this gives us kind of a focus. We can use this for support or more exercises if we need it. And I thought we would do some of the things in these two packs as kind of like a warm-up to get ready for. So those are things that I can add into this. But keep in mind, I'm not adding things to this because I think it needs it. I'm adding things to it, one, because I have the things. Two, because I'm using this 5th grade writing with a 4th grader who, while I think is a pretty strong writer now, he didn't start out the year as a strong writer, in my opinion. And so I want to make sure that I am building kind of this foundation as strong as I can so that he's ready for 6th grade writing next year. So that's kind of why I'm choosing to add some things in. That's what I'm choosing to add in and how I'm choosing to add it. Now, if we get here and I feel like it's not necessary, then I don't need to use it, but that's kind of my thought process right now on that. Keep in mind that we're not using this exactly as it was written, which is why I'm adding other things in, and because we're working a grade ahead of his actual grade. And because this is all new to me, that's why I'm adding some things in. So I have made some notes, for myself of where I can maybe add in some of those Teachers Pay Teachers packs if I want to, because I have them and I like to use what I have. But anyway, in my opinion, the Hearth and Story writing is laid out really, really well. And they really kind of hold your hand and take you through the different steps. So I think that this is going to be a good fit. We've already started it. We started last week with this. So we are a few pages in, but it's going well so far. So that is kind of where we've been with writing, where we're going with writing. I feel like this really kind of set him up for success. So I'm glad that we did it. There's a lot of mixed feelings on IEW, any type of structure and style. My feeling is this: I don't think you need a ton of it. I don't think you need to do it year after year after year. But I think it is sets a really good foundation. And so that's kind of how we're using it. Now, will I have him go on and do structure and style 1B, which is what my daughter is doing this year when he's maybe in 6th grade? Right now, that's the plan. We'll see how his writing is when we get there. Would I have him do it after that? No. I think 1 to 2 years of IEW is sufficient. So 1B and 2B potentially, but I'm not even sure that we're finishing 1B for my 7th grader this year. But I feel like that might be a good enough foundation. I don't know that we're gonna do 2B for her. So yeah, so I feel like people either love or hate structure and style. We really like it, but again, I don't think it's necessary to go do it over and over and over and over again. I feel like it gives you a really good foundation, and once you've got it, your kid can really just take that and go with it. So at any rate, I hope that that was helpful and not too all over the place, but I wanted to kind of for sure give you a review on this and how we liked it. I wanted to touch back in on the writing revolution and how we are using it or not using it, and just kind of looking forward where I think we're going, and yeah, what my kind of thoughts are now that we've been through almost a full year. I mean, we still have, we're in week 23 right now. No, we're starting week 24. So we still have some time left to do some good learning, and that's what we're gonna do. So if you have any questions, let me know down below. I would love to chat with you down in the comments.